and welcome to At Home with the Moons. And today you may recognise it, we're in the restoration room, and it's a little different today because it is not about the carriage. It's about this lovely little chap here that's come all the way from Australia to be restored and belongs to one of our wonderful patrons, Judith. Now, as you can see, he's looking a little sorry for himself. As gorgeous as this, I absolutely love this look on a bear, but it is putting strain on bits of him that probably he'd be better sitting off, sitting slightly up. And also his wonderful little feet here, he's lost his pads. His pads have come off. So we're going to replace all of his feet. We're going to try and keep him looking as much like this as possible. But obviously he's going to have a little bit of a body lift. So he'll be sitting up at the end of it. And also he's got this wonderful little hump here. So we can fill the hump back out. And we can also see what treasures are inside. Because I do wonder if he might have a bit of a squeaker. You can feel it here. So we'll have a good old look, and you are going to come along on the journey. So the first thing to do is, dare I say it, take him apart. Okay, so that was fun. He was not giving up his joints and cotter pins very easy. They were so tight that they weren't coming off, and also they were causing quite a lot of damage. So he's got here cardboard joints, and where obviously over the years his arms have been moved, they've rubbed away the joint, which has actually ended up, it's now starting to split. So I have a man, Mr. Moon, my husband, who is going to create some new joints. That's one of his very best jobs when it comes to the teddy bear restoration. So we'll pop those on him. We'll obviously put his old joints back in his tummy, so everything goes home to Judith. But what's happened here is, if you look, the bottom of his pads have all worn away. So to get to the pads, what I need to do is, at the top here, there's stitching here, a little ladder stitch. We'll close that together. So we'll gently unpick that, pull out the stuffing and replace the pads on all 4 feet. The stuffing, which is wood wool here, it's in really, really good condition. So all of that will be replaced. And the little thing that we found, it wasn't a squeaker. It was actually, it's bellows. So it's a growler. So this sits inside this tube here. And then as the weight pushes down and comes back, it makes like a sound, which I can show you because we have one here. So this will be going back in his tummy, so he's going to go back chit-chatting away all around the plane, so I can only imagine what people are going to think as they're turning over his parcel. So now it's time to take these parts very gently apart, because they're not, I wouldn't say they're brittle, but because the fabric is old, you've got to be very careful how you stitch, because if you pull quite tight, you can rip a hole. So it's really, really sort of slowly working with it and trying not to distress the fabric too much. So I guess the next thing to do, Ted, is to start really taking your limbs apart. So grab a cup of tea and let's get on. Okay, so we've taken all of the wood wool out of his little limbs and his legs are in really good condition. So what will happen is we're going to turn these little tubes inside out. stitch his new foot pad on, and then we're away, and then his little ladder stitch can go back across the top and his leg can be put back onto his body. But, however, his tiny little arms, which are really, really very small, the ladder stitch across the top of his arms, so like his shoulders, has actually, if I tried to pull that apart, I'm going to rip the material. So what I did, I don't know if you saw in the video, I made a little incision just where the actual joint sits so I can pull it out the other way so I don't have to worry that top bit of his fabric and rip him anymore. And also, I hoped that I'd be able to just turn him inside out and put those little pads on the bottom. But what's happened is the other side of the pad, the main material of the back of the arm, so this bit of his arm that you don't see the pad on, is also damaged. So I'm going to reinforce that side. But to do that, I've had to take away this little bit of stitching at the bottom here. So you've got this kind of little purse that's now open. But what it means is I can reinforce this shoulder. I can reinforce the fabric on the other side to protect the arm, and I can also put some nice little pads back in for him once we're all finished, and we can sew him back up, turn him in the right way, and hopefully we'll have two nice little arms that are nice and strong, and as I say, his legs are ready to go. So it's going to take a little while, so you might want to grab another cup of tea, and yeah, we'll carry on. Okay, so we are now at the point where everything's done and I've just started to stuff him again. I'm going to use Kapok actually because the arms and the limbs are very, very brittle and I don't want to shove wood wool back in. But I've got the man himself, Mr. Moon here, who is a wizard, or the Geppetto of limb making. So what have you found, Nick?
Yeah, so what we've come up against is a slight problem. They are all individual, but this one's particularly special and originally had some fibre board limb discs, and we normally cut them out of recycled old backs of picture frames and whatever, and it's quite a thick wood, it's quite strong, and it's a uniform size, and I just use a hole cutter and cut out the discs, and then I prepare them so they're nice and smooth. But we needed something that was a little bit thinner, and we were very kindly donated these in a box of all other stuff, and I think they're going to be really good. It's another, well, it's a fibre board, a compressed fibre board, and I reckon I can fashion them round, and then I'll be able to get them just a little bit thinner just to help Jenny, because as she said, it is very, very fragile, to say the least.
It is, and also when you join them together, so if you imagine you've got a wooden joint and you put, there's two, then you've got quite a thick bit that goes between the arm and the inside of the bear, and then you have to butterfly clip over these cotter pins here. So again, you're taking up lots of room, and if you look at the size of this arm, it's very, very tiny. So I need them as thin as possible, but also as strong as possible, but soft, so they don't cause any damage.
So I'm going to go to the workshop and see what we can do.
So let's go.
So we're back, and I've managed to, well, we've got the 8 joints. So we've got 2 for the arms on either side and 2 for the legs on either side. And as Jenny said, she's now got to do, well, it's unimaginable how complicated, how fragile the whole operation is. But I've seen her do it before. I don't know how she does it, but the outcome is truly spectacular when it's all done. So I'm going to leave these in her very capable hands and enjoy the rest of the video.
Okay, so we're at that point, the exciting bit. Judith, this is where you see your bear come back together again, and Teddy will be sitting here strong once more. But before that, we have to put all of these little joints back into each limb, and then we need to stitch it up and then carefully put it back into the bear. Then I'm going to collect up all the little bits and pieces that we have around, pop them all back in, including his new growler, so he'll make his lovely noise. And yeah, then we can stitch him up, and then it's just all the final bits and pieces at the end, just to help him look a little bit more like he's been away. But he's been an absolute joy to work with, so let's just hope he continues to work with me and we can work our magic and pop this little man back together again for you. So here he is, Teddy is in the final throes of his restoration and he is feeling much stronger, sitting on his own, as you can see. The only things that need doing now is his ears. Judith, bless her, said that she used to carry him around by his ears, which many, many children would have done over the years, carry their Teddy by the ears. Oscar Robin does the same. And I can actually see where the ear originally sat, but someone has very kindly stitched them back on over the years. So we're going to pop those back where they need to go. His eyes would have once been little boot button black eyes, and right now they're buttons. So we're going to take the buttons out. We're going to add them to a little scarf around his neck, so they're never forgotten, but we're going to put the boot buttons back in. And then the most important part, he has a nose, but he doesn't have a muzzle, so he has no expression on his face. So we're going to give him back his little tiny expression there, and then he's going to be ready to fly all the way home to Australia, back to his mum, Judith. So looking forward to the end, and you're going to share it with us, so let's go. Okay, so that's it. He's all done and finished, and what an absolute pleasure he has been to work on. So as you can see, he's sitting much prouder and much more content. He's been reinforced inside, so hopefully he's preserved for many more years to come. It's been an absolute privilege to work on him, and thank you, Judith, for one, sending him across to us all the way from Australia, but for two, allowing me to restore him for you. So he'll be on a plane home soon. Hopefully he'll get back to you before the festive period. But for now, I'm going to say stay magical, and we shall see you very soon.